I wanted to switch gears a little bit and go over some channels and tactics and the way that we should think about how we approach getting our next opportunity. There's often this understanding that there's only one singular pathway to really get there. And what I'm trying to encourage people to think about is there are lots of different channels and lots of tactics within each channel that could potentially spur the next meeting that gets you the opportunity. There's direct channels, which is more pushing. You're pushing a message out to people, hoping that they'll receive it and come back to you. Then there's indirect activities, tactics, and different ways of working. And ultimately, that's putting something out into the world and hoping that people come directly to you. Both have unique angles and unique ways of being able to draw some type of response out of people. Some channels obviously are betters and some are considered the standard. Let's take a abstract scenario that we've all probably been through. Let's say you're trying to enter a stadium for a concert or an event. Most people have done that. And I want to demonstrate what default bias is. So people stick with the default option, especially in ambiguous situations. I've certainly been in a queue that is going on for ages, lines and lines, where I'm waiting around only to realize I'm not in any particular important line. There are many different entrances. It's just I decided to line up because obviously everybody else was lining up. This is often what happens as a default choice when everybody starts doing the standard thing. Another type of bias is availability heuristic, which basically is when making decisions, people rely on immediately and easily accessible information, meaning the obvious route seems to be the best route. People assume that things are done a certain way because that's how obviously it must be done. But there are so many different ways in order to get your next opportunity. And sometimes it requires us taking existing channels and taking unique angles. So examples of unique angles is gimmicks, gifts, something that is absolutely thoughtful, an element of personalization, unique experience that's created, pairing two uncommon things that aren't normally paired together, a demonstration of tech skill or knowledge, or some type of resource creation. Now, all of that sounds really abstract if I haven't provided examples, which I absolutely will do. But again, some channels and some tactics are better than others. Our goal is ultimately to get real meetings. We have to try lots of different things in order to get what we want in terms of that final job offer. And being able to meet with the right types of people who are very busy requires sometimes a creative approach. So, what are the direct channels, the push stuff where we're going direct to them? So, there's in person where you're literally showing up, and that could be in person, that can be at the office, that can be directly reaching out to them via phone call, that can be super non digital stuff. It can be outreach across all of the known channels. So that's LinkedIn, that could be getting into somebody's DMs, that could be email. We know a lot of this stuff, and that's a good portion of this course. What are the indirect channels where we're pulling people towards us? They come to you. Social media is one that a lot of people don't take advantage of, meaning you're putting out great pieces of content. Web is another. Maybe you've built a temporary product. Maybe you have a fantastic portfolio that's well searched. You can create ads that are drawing people to you. There's lots of different ways of getting other people to refer you. Again, some channels are better than others, but every channel has its own tactics. So let me give a quick example of really driving this point home. I ran an agency for just under 5 years, and the amount of clients that I would sit in front of where they said, I've tried SEO, it doesn't work. And it's like, cool, what'd you do? And then they're like, well, I have a website and I created some content. And it's like, okay, what else? It's like, well, I've been doing social media. And it's like, okay, show me. And it's not great. Oh yeah, I ran ads and just wasted a ton of money. And it's like, yep, and email outreach and events and PR and everything else. The problem is that if you don't do these things in the right way, none of them will work. Lots of people can stand up and say, oh, I've tried this. It is an awful channel. It does not work. And the reason it doesn't work is poor execution and the lack of taking the unique angle. Everything that you could potentially do, if done poorly, whether it's bad targeting, whether it's bad messaging, whether it's too generic, whether there's nothing unique about it, it will fall flat. So any channel that you attempt to do, if it's just standard cold outreach, can absolutely not work if done poorly. And that's why I've put so much effort into this course, is to try to give you all of the principles alongside all of the templates so that you can do this stuff correctly. if I am trying to explore a channel that may or may not work, I have to try it out and at least do all the right things in order to make sure that I give myself the best possible chance of knowing whether or not it is a good channel. So let's say an example would be like super old school boomer shit. So it's like show up with your resume in hand and hand deliver it to the company at their headquarters. Now, a showing up in person as a channel, if you showed up at somebody's home, that would be super weird. If you show up at the office, that's kind of weird when you're uninvited. It's unexpected. It's not in kind of the spectrum of what is considered probably normal behavior. But if you showed up to an event that they were putting on, or that one of the people from the company was speaking at, or it was a planned appearance, then it's very normal and it's very acceptable. Obviously, home visits don't work and you can't just show up. I think we all can agree on that. But if we were to show up at the office and it doesn't work, but it could work, what would that look like? The right intent and poor execution still has the same result. So maybe if we tried something that wasn't weird, or we used a slightly different dynamic that shifted the way that they saw showing up at the office, maybe there would be something that people would sit back and be like, interesting. I want to show a few examples of that, and they're unique angles paired with gimmicks.